My name is Sander Dales, CEO of Short Teams. Today, I'll have an interview with the Business Development Manager of DEVISION, Hristo Proynov. DEVISION, based in Sofia, Bulgaria, works for clients as ABB, local branches of Bayer, Allianz, and many other small and medium-sized enterprises, mainly in Western Europe. During this interview, we'd like you to get acquainted with Mr. Proynov and DEVISION, and we'll ask him to give some wonderful insights about working with an offshore development team. Hi, Hristo. Thanks for being with us today.
Hi, Sander.
Hi, welcome. Can you tell me a bit about the story of DEVISION?
Good. So we started at DEVISION more than 12 years ago, originally as a web development agency. Back then, we did a lot of websites, e-commerce and corporate ones, and a lot of projects. But we were quickly involved in more complex projects where we had to develop different web and mobile-based software solutions, applications. So we had to quickly adjust our development process, tools to more agile-like development process. And generally over the years, we gradually switched to this kind of agile software development model, where we set up teams on our site working on more complex and long-term projects or products. And over the past few years, we heavily specialized in more advanced technologies like IoT solutions, different artificial intelligence and machine learning projects and solutions that we've developed. And yeah, this is pretty much it.
Yeah. Okay. So quite a long past, I would say, and a lot of learnings, of course. And what is your background? How did you start?
Well, we started back in university, where I, being one of the co-founders at DEVISION, met with the other two partners and co-founders. Of course, we were already knowing each other because we were involved in different IT contests and events back in high school. But we had the chance to meet, to spend more time close together. So we had, so we saw that we have the same vision, same passion for technology, innovation, and that's why we decided to start this startup.
Yeah, that's how it usually works. Of course, you get to know each other, and if there's some sort of chemistry and you have the same ideas, you can create something beautiful, I would say. And now you're 12 years already, within DEVISION.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And so, what do you consider to be your secret sauce? So, for example, what are the 3 leadership principles that you have discovered and maybe executed, which have contributed to your success?
Well, I would say that first, as I already mentioned, our appetite for innovation and our desire to constantly outdo ourselves is one of our core principles that has kept us together. Secondly, I would say our hands-on approach. We generally try to be involved in all the different projects, different collaborations, and to help the team leads with our expertise, not only as technical on the technical aspects, but also on the business one, being having background in software development and also being entrepreneurs. And also we try to have to foster a transparent environment internally here at Division, at the company, and also together with our clients.
Mhm.
So we have a direct communication. So all the problems, issues, goals are communicated, and this is generally very important if you want to build a long-term relationship.
Yeah, I think communication is probably the most important thing, especially when you work remotely. But communication, even within an office, communication is probably the most important, and especially if you work remotely, make sure that you communicate
Yeah,
everything really well and being transparent, which is, I think, are very good,
yeah,
things to have. Okay, and so
absolutely.
if we go back to Division, what do you consider the biggest strength of Division?
I would say our engineering skills and mindset. We are not the typical outsourcing, staffing, or enterprise setup.
Hmm.
I can say that we are more or less a group of software engineers with passion and innovation and solving challenging technical problems. Of course, we provide, as a company, we provide and have to provide end-to-end service. So everything from UI, UX to managed service. But generally, our core strength is within the development and the engineering area. And
Yeah,
also the majority of the specialists here in the company.
yeah. Okay, and how do you then take care of your staff, and how do you create team spirit?
Well, if we take aside all the typical HR
Yeah,
activities,
yeah.
team buildings, social benefits and perks, which is something as a standard now in the industry, I would say first by giving example, being strong leadership, being involved in the project, not just standing outside, but being
Hmm.
inside in helping the teams and the team leads. This plays a very good role in the company. As I said, also we are not a very big or enterprise company. We try to be small as a number. We are very cautious when it comes to hiring new people.
Hmm.
We have a very steady growth, but it's not for example, we don't have the plans to double our size in the next or 2 years.
Yeah,
Uh, we try to have a very family-like environment and involve people which fit into our company culture and mindset.
yeah. I would say that's also good for a long-term relationship and a stable situation, right? If you don't have the need or the desire to double this fast, and you have more of a
Yeah,
focus on, people who feel welcome and who are part of the family, part of the team,
yeah, absolutely.
which I would say which creates an environment where people want to work, right, and want to stay, which is good in the
Absolutely,
end for the
absolutely.
client as well, right? Because the longer they stay and the longer they're happy, the better it is for, of course, for Division, but definitely also for the client, because
Yeah,
if you can enjoy the people, I would say for as long as possible, and if you set the environment that they are actually enjoying themselves and that don't want to leave, right, because they can earn something more somewhere else or whatever, for whatever reason, because they simply like it, because it's their family, I would say that's the perfect setup.
yeah, absolutely. And yeah, I would say that here in our team, there are people which have more than 7 years in the company,
Yeah.
which for an IT is it's a long time.
Yeah, it's a long time. Absolutely, absolutely. Well, that's proof that it works. right? So which
Yeah,
is
yeah,
which is
absolutely.
great. Yeah. Okay. And so, what tools for collaboration and remote work do you or does your team have experience with?
In general, we work with the tools, infrastructure, and systems of our client. For example, some of our clients use Azure stack like Microsoft Teams, Azure DevOps.
Mm-hmm.
Others use Jira, Confluence, Bitbucket, GitHub. So we're generally flexible in this area, and we use the tooling and infrastructure provided by our clients, and we augment into their development process. Internally, we use GitLab, Slack, and Trello boards
Yeah.
currently.
And so, would you recommend those also to anyone who isn't using anything yet?
Yeah, absolutely. Generally, it works well for us, this combination, and more or less, it's important to have a very well-structured environment and
Mm-hmm.
development process, which is already set up.
Okay. So, and what would be the ideal start for a team? Can you explain your typical process?
Yep. So for every new project or team, we usually have a short discovery stage. We typically involve some of our technical leads at the beginning, and we work with our client and their team to identify the requirements, business goals, risks, and the idea is to have all the necessary artifacts before we start the actual development process. So for us, it's the most important artifacts to have all the necessary development and collaboration tools in place,
Mm-hmm.
to have a very well defined backlog, and to have an automated continuous integration and continuous delivery pipeline set in place, and also all the necessary like coding guidelines,
Mm-hmm.
all the other policies, for example, testing coverage. So in some of the cases where our clients have this all in place, we just have to review it. Sometimes we provide some ideas for adjustments, improvements of the
Mm-hmm.
process, more or less if the client doesn't have experience working with a remote team. So our idea here is to just augment their existing team, and here we uh, relatively quickly onboard developers and begin the actual development process. In other situations, we have to start from scratch. So there we involve, as I said, some of our most experienced technical leads, which have more than 10 or 12 years experience with enterprise grade applications and projects.
Mm-hmm.
So they set up all the necessary tools, infrastructure, process, guidelines, policies, and generally the next important step is to identify the lead developer. For us, this is the most important person, which is responsible for not only the development,
Mm-hmm.
not only consulting, providing ideas and suggestions, recommendations for technology choices, selection, design, sometimes architectural decisions, but also this person works together with the team, do coaching, code reviews. So once we identify this person, we then gradually onboard additional developers mid
Mm-hmm.
or senior level, sometimes junior QA engineers, and then we begin the actual development process. It's usually Scrum, sometimes Kanban, but
Yep.
this is also depending on the project, the client, and the particular case.
Yeah. Well, at least you have a lot of different options, and you have, I believe, a well structured way of getting started, which is,
Yeah,
uh,
yeah,
which is, I think, really good for, I would say for any company. If you want to start with a remote development team, it's good to have the guidance. But also, if you have maybe some processes in place, you have the experience, you can adjust it where necessary, and then improve the way of working. Which is really strong as well.
absolutely.
Okay, so
Ab-
nowadays, with COVID-19, the world is changing. How has it changed your business models, processes, and so on?
Yep. So COVID was a real, how to say, challenge. This lockdown situation, not locally, but on a global level and
Yeah,
scale. Probably in IT, we're one of the industries and sectors where, for now, the impacts were not as heavy as, for example, other industries like automotive, aviation.
yeah,
Uh, I remember back in March when they announced this lockdown, we had to quickly transform our workflow for this remote setup. So
yeah,
it was like on Friday, we decided to do it. Like from next week, we are remote.
yeah,
So it was a bit of a hassle over the weekend, but on Monday, actually, we continued working remotely, and we do even now. So we continue
yeah,
with this with this kind of process. It had a bit of overhead with the communication. At the beginning, we had to book a lot of additional slots, daily, weeklies, etc., to sync up not only internally but also with our clients, with other teams. So it's when I look at my calendar and my colleagues, I see that it's full until Thursday. We have
yeah,
some free time slots on Friday. Uh, yeah, this was one of the change, and generally the other one is that now we are more or less remote first company,
yeah,
and it
yeah.
has proved for us that it works. So we think we will continue this way.
Yeah, and I can imagine that for a lot of companies, the remote first way of working is going to be the new way of working. We all are forced to work from home and to find solutions. And I think it's not only you, but a lot of other companies as well. They've made a shift in days. What will usually take years for companies to accomplish, they can do it in days. You did it over the weekend.
Yeah,
And of course,
absolutely.
yeah, of course, you are in the industry and in the business that you know how to work remotely, right? It's part of your business. Still, you have everything. Usually, you have everything in office, and you have meetings, and you have everything scheduled, like many companies. And I think it's a good example of how change can take place and how quickly we can do it. And it's only a mindset actually of doing it. And if you can get everyone aligned, it only takes a weekend to get it done. You'll have your issues. Yes, of course, everyone will have their issues,
Yeah,
but in the end, I think it's an amazing achievement, not only of you, but a lot of companies, of course, who did this. So I think it's a great example for all.
absolutely. Yeah,
Right?
we had all the technology, all the policies like information security, quality assurance, ISO certifications, but it was COVID that actually prompted us to do this change.
Yeah, yeah,
Actually, we were already thinking about this few years ago. But it was now with COVID that we actually did it. And
Yeah,
I
yeah.
believe for other companies as well.
Yeah, it's simply because you have to, and so yes, it's a terrible thing, everything that's happening in the world. On the other hand, it opens new doors and new ways of working, which is, in my opinion, very interesting as well. So hopefully we can get it under control really, really soon on a global level, and we can move forward with a new way of working. Right, that would be amazing.
Absolutely.
I mean, then we would actually benefit from now on from the fact that it happened. Okay.
Yeah, it has happened, so we shouldn't focus on the negative aspects. We should more or less focus on the new challenges and new opportunities.
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree. Okay, and so what do you think of the collaboration with short teams?
Actually, we collaborate with short teams for more than 2 years now. So I'm very pleased with the communication, with their process, and all the opportunities that we have managed to work on together.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm very pleased because they're in a way targeting what we are currently looking for as a company in terms of projects, in terms of technologies.
Yeah. Okay, that's great, of course. And what do you think is the biggest strength of short teams?
Yeah, I already mentioned this. I'm quite pleased with the number of leads and opportunities that we have received, which fit exactly into our technical expertise, not only, and also in terms of projects that we are looking for.
Yeah, perfect. Okay, so I believe we are getting towards the last question. So, what do you think? In which direction is IT moving in let's say the coming 5 years?
The most difficult question
For
for the
sure.
final. Yeah. Well, if you asked me this question like a couple of months before COVID, I would say, yeah, blockchain, artificial intelligence, all the buzzwords, and generally now after COVID, I think it will be difficult to somehow say what will be the future because things are quite dynamic.
Yeah.
But I think that there are a lot of challenges currently that we all face. So it is up to technology that has to provide some meaningful solutions in terms of first all the challenges with the logistics, supply chain, aviation restrictions. So it is technologies, I believe in distributed technologies like blockchain, artificial intelligence that will provide new solutions and new more smart solutions. Actually, we already do some kind of startups for smart energy. We see a huge demand for this because of all the climate change topics, renewable energy sources, decentralization, and this is also affecting a lot of other industries. So I think we'll see a big changes in the coming years, and I believe technology will be the solution for digitalizing and transforming some of the legacy industries and processes that are currently in place.
Yeah, so that although we deal with situations like COVID, in the end, I think we can look towards a bright new future ahead of us, in IT, but also, I would say also outside of IT, because IT will provide solutions for, I would say a more sustainable way of generating energy, or, any other problems we currently have.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely
Yeah.
agree with this.
Yeah. Okay. So, well, thank you very much for your time today and for your insights, and of course for introducing yourself and Division. It was a pleasure talking to you as always. So, thanks for now, and I hope that all the viewers will enjoy these insights.
Thank you for your time as well. Yeah, all the efforts done for us so far.
Okay. Well, you're welcome,
And to your team.
and we'll speak soon for sure.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Bye bye.
Okay. Bye.
I really hope you've enjoyed this interview. Would you like us to introduce you to Division or some of our other partners? Let us know in the comments or send us an email at info@shoreteams.com.